resources that they need, we're on the right track academically, and then it also gives me an opportunity to check on them off the court as well, because that has become, I think, I told this joke before, but that's the expectation of today. When I played, I was in my head coach's office twice in my entire career. Neither time were very good. I tried to avoid his office as often as possible. And the 2 times in there, I think he made it clear to me that he didn't want me back in there. So that is a different expectation of today's player. And that's okay. I think it's, I have probably enjoyed that as much as anything. You talk about a player like, talk about a senior like Kayla Goff. Many times those conversations, by the time you get to be a senior, we've had a lot of those conversations, and it is much like your children in that those conversations as they get older, more mature, more responsible, become a lot more fun at both ends. And in Kayla's situation as one of our leaders, she has such a pulse of this team that it is a different conversation with her now, obviously, than it was as a freshman. We've got a lot of young ones. That's the biggest challenge for us right now is we've got 10 players on our roster that are freshmen and sophomores. So that means we have 2 juniors and 2 seniors on the entire roster. So this is a very young, very talented group, but it is the most immature group I've had in a long, long time. I took social media away from them about 3 weeks ago. They are only allowed to be on social media on the weekends because they couldn't handle it during the week. It was taking up way too much of their time, and it was obvious that those were things priority-wise. I think that it was, I like to think priority-wise it's academics, all right, in terms of our time here. Family in terms of their own personal family, all right. Basketball is in there obviously, and it needs to be close. Third, the social aspect of Kansas State, but I think their priorities were Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook if mom and dad were on Facebook, okay? So I felt like those were the priorities, and I think academics was maybe 5th. Basketball was somewhere down the path there. So it is interesting times as a coach. As you can tell, that is way different, but that is the times we're in, and I think it can be used. Hey, let's be honest, I'm on Twitter more than I ever was as well. I'm on social media more. If it's used properly, it's a good thing. I mean, it's a great way for me. Facebook is a great way for me to keep up with my former players. I just had a player inducted in the Hall of Fame down in Texas. That was awesome to be able to communicate with her on Facebook. It was awesome for me to be able to communicate with her family as well. Those are all positive things. It's a little bit like medicine. You got to take it in proper doses, in my opinion. And if you do that, then I think all those things are positive. I'm excited about our group. I'm excited about what we're able to do with the program. Many of you, I'm sure, have seen that we've got our tip-off banquet. This is the first time we've ever done that. We've got Holly Rowe coming to speak, and that was a big get, and it sold out yesterday. So it completely sold out in maybe 9 days, which, you know, Holly's got a great message. Holly has publicly battled cancer for the better part of 2.5 years. She just spoke at the Atlanta football, I'm going to mess up the name a little bit, but the Atlanta Football Foundation or something. She's the first female speaker to speak to that group in 72 years. Wow. That, for us to get her here in Manhattan is incredibly exciting. It's incredibly, I think she'll be incredibly inspirational to our players and our fans. I had one of our fans who is going through her own cancer treatments, and I called to see how she was doing, and you know, she kind of teared up that Holly was coming to speak, because she said, "You won't believe this, Coach. I've followed everything of her journey since her treatment began because of my own treatments." And so we're excited to have her come, and she'll be in Manhattan on October 23rd. And so I think that'll be a great evening for our program. We've also got the Midnight Madness coming up. That is the 12th of October. So I hope we have a great crowd on that. We haven't done that since I've been here at Kansas State. So I hope we have a good crowd for that. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see us get that back and grow it and see how we can make it unique to Kansas State, because I think that'd be a great event for our basketball programs. Any questions about the team or any players? I don't know who the starters are yet, but we'll put 5 out there someday.
The young lady from Minnesota who was injured last year, I heard you say that if you're optimistic, you think 4 weeks, and pessimistic 8.
Yeah.
Do you expect her to play?
It's a good question. I met with her yesterday, talked about meeting with the players. We'll have to make that decision. She's right in that gray area of how much is it worth playing, how much, and we're not to the point where we can even evaluate her getting hit and being comfortable with that. So I don't know. I went through this a year ago with my own daughter, because she was in that gray area coming back, and she decided to redshirt. Ayoka Lee is the player that we're talking about. She's a 6'6" center from Minnesota. Had 3 or 4 games above 50 as a center last year, which is hard to do. Really a talented player. That'll be interesting. Our goal is to get her, hopefully, contact early November, and to be able to have about 2 to 3 weeks to make that decision. So I know that's a vague answer, but that's reality of where we're at. I don't think, if she can't go by December 1st, I don't believe it's worth burning the red shirt if she can't go. Because I don't think you can put a center into the Big 12 as a freshman and expect her to have success if she hasn't had some December games. Yeah.
In this day and age, how do you possibly keep social media away from your kids?
Well, you run them a lot if they get on it. And we've had a few of those. The rules haven't changed in terms of they still don't like to run. That hasn't changed in 30 years. How do you keep it away from them? You know, I included them in that decision. I included the whole team in this discussion. It was funny. Oh God, you gotta love 18-year-olds these days. One of my 18-year-old players, we had this discussion, and I'm chatting with her afterwards. Now, she is one of them that she was gonna have trouble with it. And she goes, "Coach, I just don't think the vote will pass with the team." And I said, "It's really funny that you think this is a vote." And Goff overheard her, okay? And Goff goes, "Trust me, we ain't voting on this." He's allowing us to give input, and there will be a decision made. So we did not vote on that, and I made the decision. And the decision I made was to, once again, they are allowed to be on social media from Saturday 8 a.m. to Sunday 8 p.m. So we're trained to allow them, to be able to do it. But it's unbelievable. I get 2 texts today. "It's my birthday. Can I thank everybody for the birthday wishes?" Absolutely. Saturday at 8 a.m. It's my grandmother's, blah, blah. Absolutely. Grandmother would love to hear from you Saturday at 8 a.m. Yes.
Strength conditioning is becoming a big part of the NCAA. What is K-State and your strengths? Are your trainers certified, or what are we doing to protect the players?
Yeah, great. Good question. We've got as good a situation as I've ever had in coaching. We have our own strength coach that works with women's basketball, and everybody says they have their own, but our strength coach is for women's basketball, and he works out the tennis team twice a week. He's at every practice, travels with us. Our trainer is the same way. Both are certified at the highest level. Being at practice for a strength coach is incredibly valuable because of being able to see the mechanics of a player and to be able to understand what we're looking to improve. Our strength coach, AJ, works with our team 3 days a week, but he also has 2 individual workouts with each kid per week. So for example, if you've got Yoka Lee coming off of the ACL injury, he has her 2 times a week specifically working on her skill. He has other players as well. In Lee's case, you talk about one of her problems is that she probably never lifted in high school, so when she is done our workouts, her good leg is getting this much stronger and it's getting away from her other leg. So now what we've done is she only does single leg stuff with that to eliminate that gap. And so we have a very specific workout schedule, and they're with them year round now because of the summer workouts. So yeah, we have as good a situation. That's one of the things when I took the job here, and I was discussing this with administration, where can we gain advantages? What can we do better? And in the women's world, there's probably only 2 years ago, there was only 5 schools that had their own strength coach in women's basketball. There might be 10 now, but we're one of the 10, or whatever the number is. Yeah.
Over the years at K-State, there's been a lot of discussion about the difficulty of recruiting to Manhattan. What's your take on that?
Well, I think recruiting's always challenging in every area. And here's what I think. We've got to do a better job of that at K-State. It's not that Manhattan's difficult to recruit to. It's not that K-State's difficult to recruit to. We have to do a better job. And what I mean by that is we have to make sure in every one of our areas that recruiting is an emphasis. Everybody I hire, for example, I just hired a director of basketball ops. She was recruiting coordinator at UNO. Okay, I hired a player development coach. She was recruiting coordinator at Utah State. So everybody that I hire has a recruiting background, because I don't think anymore that you can, I think you have to have everybody doing something in regards to recruiting. I could equate this to sales in that everybody ought to have a little bit of a sales background, because that's what we're doing. I mean, we are selling K-State, we are selling Manhattan, and that's a big emphasis. I've got a recruiting meeting after practice today. I pretty much have a recruiting meeting every day. I mentioned that I was talking to all of our players today. Well, at 10:10, I had a call or a FaceTime with a kid in Spain. So that was from 10:10 to 10:20. 10:20 was back in with players, but that is pretty much my schedule every day. There's probably 2 or 3 FaceTime with an international player, but everybody on my staff has a recruiting background, and I made that an emphasis when I got here. But I'll be honest, we have to do a better job in women's basketball of recruiting. We have to continue to do a better job, and I think we've made strides, but we're not there yet.
Back to basketball, I think I either read it in the Manhattan paper or on some of your K-State stuff that you're really working hard on rebounding.
Yeah, we'd like to get 1 this year. Yeah, I'm going to blame myself on that. I'll blame myself on that in some aspects, because as a coach, sometimes you look back and I keep all my practice plans from the previous years, and I'm not so sure I wasn't allowing some slippage in there that I didn't need to allow. And and we still emphasized rebounding, talked about it, but there is a difference. I used the word insane in my press conference, that I'm going to have an insanity to me in terms of that. It's not going to be tolerated. You're simply going to rebound. Now there obviously is a recruiting component to that. You can't expect a kid that can't jump, can't do this to be able to get a rebound, you know, so we have to improve that area as well. But some of this is, yeah, I've got to do a better job of that as a coach to make sure that, you know, you ought to be able to walk into every practice and know what the emphasis is. You ought to be able to walk into teams and know what their identity is. And some years are easier than others because, but ultimately that needs to be very obvious to anybody that comes to a practice that we're going to rebound the basketball and we're going to do that at a high level. At a high level, now, the Big 12 has the best rebounding teams in the country. Baylor's rebounding margin last year was 18.6 per game. Okay, the next best in the country was 10.6 or something like that. However, just to give you an idea, I've got a chart in my office that is right on my computer to make sure that I am doing a better job. In the Sweet 16 last year, the lowest margin of rebounding advantage was 2.8 by Buffalo. Okay, so if you want to be in the Sweet 16, all right, the lowest margin was 2.8. Most people had at least a 5 rebound advantage over their opponent. So it's pretty clear to me that you better have that. If you want your program to be in the Sweet 16, that is non-negotiable. You better have your rebounding margin at that number. Yep.
Most people believe that it's harder to get rebounds with zone defense. Do you, you're essentially a zone coach. Do you blend the mix zone and man?
Well, I wouldn't consider myself a zone coach, although we have played more zone over the last couple of years. We initially started tinkering with some of that when we were, and I say when we made the move, when I was at another school and we made the move to the Big 12, we were coming out of the Mountain West. So we felt like to even the playing field, we needed to do something differently. So we started tinkering with some of that, okay? We will play more man-to-man this year because we have recruited better to that personnel. I do still think that we can have a really good zone, but it is harder to rebound out of the zone. There ain't any doubt about it. And you're absolutely correct on that. I would anticipate we're going to play. We haven't done one zone defensive drill this year. Everything is man to man right now, and I think we've got to do a better job of that as well. And we started a little bit of that late last year, but we're definitely going to be better there. But it is harder to rebound. There ain't any doubt about it. Syracuse has the best zone in the country, right? Jim Boeheim, and that's kind of the zone we run. And they're still, most years, at best, a 4+ rebound team, so it is harder. Yeah.
Peyton Williams, is she going to play for you?
She better. I just met with Peyton like an hour ago, and she obviously traveled back from Lubbock last night, and yeah, we just went over her schedule. She starts with us on Monday. We get her 4 times next week, which is a large number. That is one of the real challenges that our coaching staff has, is that I mentioned earlier, 10 freshmen and sophomores, and then only 4 upperclassmen. Well, Peyton's one of those upperclassmen, yet we don't get her full time. And she is such a great leader, and we do miss that in practice. Now, it gives the group an opportunity. It gives a player like Laura Mackey, who has made tremendous strides as a freshman, more reps. But the leadership that Peyton would provide a younger player, and just having her in practice would be beneficial. We'll get her 4 times next week. We won't get her as many the next week. We've got the formula to practice her. We get her about 6 to 8 hours a week is kind of the normal.
You get one over.
Any other? Got time for one more. Then we got to go do some rebounding. Yeah.
The tall girl from Russia came from California. Is she
Yep.
still with you?
She is not. No, she is not. She struggled. She struggled, and part of it was she had something happen to her, and I don't actually know if they ever had a medical reason for it. You know, sometimes it's just unexplained. But she lost about 15 pounds, and she had some stomach deal that she was battling. And so it took her out of almost 2 months. And so when we sat down at the end of the year, my honest evaluation was that she couldn't help us. She had not progressed, she had not, and she said, you know, Coach, if you don't feel like I can get on the floor, then I think I need to transfer. And I think that was the right move for her. She went back home, yeah, and she went to a smaller school. She went to a D2 back in California. So yeah, that's kind of how that happened. But I would have been curious to see if the 2 months would have made a difference, because that zapped her of every bit of strength she had. She needed to gain weight, not go the other direction. So anyways, yeah, that was unfortunate for her. Well, thank you guys. I know we've got a lot of things to take over here. We appreciate it.
Well, Coach, thank you, and we always have a speaker book. As you all know, he has signed it, and it will be going to Northview Elementary. We're going to just kind of pick up the normal agenda at this point. Normally when we get to the speaker, I don't think we'll replay that. Today is National Cinnamon Roll Day. It's also National Ship in a Bottle Day. Let me tell you, I practiced saying that about 20 times. I was a little concerned, but I got it. Look back in history. On this day in 1927, work began on Mount Rushmore. So it's still going strong. A couple of reminders. World Polio Day. District President here last week. For those of you who are here, October 24th, be a program up in the Capitol, 11:30 to 12:30. And then 27th is the Sea Clyde Fun Run Walk. And that starts at 9 o'clock, I believe, at Posco Plaza. Either one will get you registered for that and make that happen. And then Mike Dotson, I think you have something you'd like to say on the tree program.
Now, we were going to get some volunteers for watering, but obviously we're not going to need to water. I'm going to pick up 50 more saplings on Friday, so probably next week, weekend after next, we'll need some volunteers, just a few, to help plant those saplings where all the saplings that we did plant died. We had great success. I'd say we had 85% success. Everything in plastic generally grew, and about 80% of all the saplings grew, but we had one species that did not do well at all. So the Forest Service is replacing those, and those are the ones I'll pick up. But that's probably about an hour and a half job. We'll do a little bit of weeding at the same time. So I'll let you know sometime next week.
Thanks, Mike. Are there any other announcements anyone needs to make? Oh, Mel, I have that down here. Mel brought some cards for Jeff Luther, and so he will start those around if you would like to sign those, and then he is going to mail those after the meeting. Cup money for this month will go to our speaker book program. You know, it's a really excellent program, and we bought the books this year, and we didn't budget quite that amount, so the speaker books would be, if you could give generously, we would appreciate it, but I know the books are appreciated. And I think, Lucas, you would like to say a few words?
Sure.
Let us know a little bit about that.
Oh, I don't. I've got a teacher voice.
Okay.
I appreciate the offer, though. You don't want me with a microphone. Just ask any of my librarians. It never ends well. So my name is Lucas Lockmiller. I'm the Director of Library Services for the Manhattan Rotary School District here in USC 383. And my elementary libraries directly benefit from the Manhattan Rotary Club. And so I am here to say thank you, plain and simple. The donations that the Rotary has made have really gone a long way with my elementary libraries. I've been in this position now for 6 years, and I would say approximately 5 years and 11 months I've known Stormy because she wanted to make sure and get to know me because she had a great relationship with my predecessor. Stormy has been an amazing representative of the Rotary. She has been very adamant that we the Rotary helps continue the mission of USD 383 Libraries, and that is to encourage the love of lifelong reading. And if you've done any amount of web surfing or news following in the past 5 to 6 years, education funding has been questionable at best, and that's all I'm going to say about that. My department has been very lucky in that I haven't had to make any cuts to library funding, so that we're still able to put books and media and audio-video resources on the shelf. But occasionally, there are gaps. There are gaps. You can only stretch those dollars so far. And the donations that have been made by the Rotary to the elementary schools have really helped fill in a lot of those gaps. And those gaps that they've helped fill in have been fantastic because they've been the award-winning books. They've been everything from the Theodore Seuss Geisel to the Caldecotts to the Newberries. And my librarians are ever thankful for all that you have done as an organization to put these books in their libraries and subsequently put those same books in the hands of children. So I can't say thank you enough to your organization. I have greatly appreciated everything that you've done for my libraries. My librarians would tell you the same thing, and I can't say enough about this fantastic young lady right here, Stormy. 37 years young, right? Exactly. Stormy has been amazing to work with year in, year out, from the Rotary standpoint to her business, Claflin Books and Copies. We've done a lot of great things together, and I hope that we continue to still do those great things. So again, thank you very much for your donations today, in the past and in the future. They are greatly appreciated. Anything else?
Yeah, I'll do it. Thank you very much, Lucas.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. Our greeters were Ashley Iverson and Logan Edwards. Did we have any visiting Rotarians or Rotaractors?
Not have any visitors.
None. Okay. Do we have any guests of Rotarians? On the west? Towards the middle? Yep.
Yes. President John and fellow Rotarians, my guest is Alan LaPolice. Alan, in his career, has been a teacher and a school superintendent, and you may recognize his name as Democratic candidate for the congressional seat in the 1st District.
Welcome, Alan. Thanks for being here. We appreciate you taking time to be here. Thanks a lot. At this time, I'd like to ask Vernon Turner to come forward and introduce some special guests.
Yes, as you'll notice at my table, I have a table full of guests today. They are visiting the Stanley Leadership Studies. They're young leaders from the country of Senegal, so the Sengal Fellows. So I'll name them off, and then I think we'll go ahead and have one of them speak for a couple minutes about what they're doing here. But I have Adolfo Gomez, and then Francisca Rosalie Napama, Jennifer Bari, and Haby Diallo, and Demba Kandi. Haby, do you want to come up and give a few words?
Sure. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. Yes, it can be sometimes very difficult to start speaking, to stand in front of people and to speak, but I will try. My name is Haby Diallo, and I'm a child protection specialist. So I've been working for one non-profit international organization named Child Fund for now 10 years. And what make us come here is about DECLIC. DECLIC is a youth community development organization, and we've created since 2 years now, from 2016. And I'm one of the founding members of this organization, and we are 5, and we are all Mandela Washington Fellows. I've been in Pittsburgh, Duquesne University, and the others was in, one of them, the president actually was in Kansas, and the others was in New York, Chicago, etc. And it was a kind of response to the youth issues in our country. Because we are in the southern part of Senegal, which is now with, unfortunately, a conflict armed since 1982, and it's still going on. We don't have, it's not peace, it's not, yeah, it's just like this. And what led to this conflict was that people in the south just feel that they are not having more support from the government, and this led to this conflict, to this armed conflict. And since then, we are still struggling to have more support from the government. And if you say that or the whole people are in that situation, just imagine about the young people in there. The educational system does really not fit to what's going on right now. We have the traditional French system that is sometimes it would be very, very, very complicated for those who are graduated from that system to get job easily. And so there are no structures, facilities that would allow us to have job. And young people are just sitting under the trees, having their tea, and discussing about the problems that are not being solved by the government. And we think that as people who are very lucky, because we are lucky to be part of this incredible fellowship, we have to give back to our community by helping our fellow young people to see that it's possible. If you try something, you're gonna get something at the end. So that's why we created DECLIC. DECLIC is about community development and leadership integrated, because we think that leadership is not something that is for the high level people, but it should be something, a common good for everybody. And how can a young people, a young man or a young woman become a leader? Just by being part of what's going on in his community. We want them to be change makers, to be able to help their community, to be able to be useful to their community, and to try to do something that would move them forward. And by doing this, we organize many activities, from training sessions to help them have some skills, life skills, and to help them be entrepreneurs, and everything that would be useful for them to become successful. So this is mainly what we are doing. And we are trying to get support from everywhere. For our, we started with, right now we have 50 members, we were 5. Now we have 50 members that are in DECLIC. And we've trained since 2016 up to now, we have trained more than 1,000 young people, and most of them are trying to make the difference in their corner of the south of Senegal. So this is what we are doing, and we hope that we will be able to do more, because we know that the system is something very hard for us, and being part of the system is something unimaginable for us, because if you're not, for those who went to Africa, it's almost the same. If you're not part of the government, if you're not part of the surrounding environment of the government, maybe you won't be somebody who can gain from that government. So we want to make those young people be able to do that. We don't have money. We have some ideas, and we want to make it work for our community. But we need to be supported by some partners, collaborators that would help us support our program, so that those young people won't have in mind, why not taking some arm and just fight like it used to be in the 1982. So this is what we are doing mainly. For our first year, we had the support from the U.S. government. As Mandela Washington alumni, we were able to have some support for 2 programs that was about training youth. So we have something like $20,000 for the first time, and then we had $15,000 for the second time. And right now we are working, we are partnering with one government agency, and the goal is to try to engage the community, because they have a very huge program dealing to build infrastructure in Casamas area. But unfortunately, they just started building things without trying to talk to people, to communities that are that would benefit to that. And they just realized at the middle that they need to talk to those people to let them know that they are building facilities, but these are for the community. So they have to take ownership of that. And as we are well known in that part, they asked us to join this project and try to help those people to be trained so that they can take the ownership of those facilities that are being built by the government. So we are there since the beginning of this year. We are with the government working to help people be conscious of what's going on and try to do more about the building that. So our presence here in Kansas is a collaboration that started since 2016. As I told you, one of our founding members used to be a Mandela Fellow here. And since then, we are collaborating a lot. From training sessions, we have coaching, Leading Change Institute. We had the honor to host a Leading Change Institute in Ziguinchor in early 2018, in January 2018. And since then, this is a kind of logical continuum of this partnership by being today Michael Holland Fellows, leader in residence. So that's why we are here, and we are trying to connect with people, to partner with, do networking, and to try to make people be interested in our program. So we will be able to build something huge for our community to benefit from that. And one of our dreams, and I would like to let you know that, is that we do a lot in terms of training and everything, but we still don't have a place where we settle. So we are an organization, we are legally registered and everything. We went to the authorities to try to get a building from the public administration, but still now we have nothing about that. Then we would like to have a big center so that those young people who are able to get training from us can find a place where they can try to experience things, they can try to do some entrepreneurship and be successful in their life. So this is mainly what we do. And with my colleagues, they are members of the clique, and we are all thankful for having us here, and yes, for making things easy for us. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for letting us know about your mission, and thanks to all of you for being here today. We appreciate it. Do we have a holiday in appreciation?
Congratulations goes to Dean Tebow.
Happy birthday, Dean. Yeah, Stormy.
I'd like to remind everybody that this Sunday at 2:30, we're going to be the rededication of the Peace Memorial Auditorium. And a guy by the name of Jim could tell you we're going to have some good music.
Thanks. Well, our departing thought for today, I knew Coach Mitty was going to leave, but I still thought I'd do something from basketball. So this comes from John Wooden, who I think we all know, UCLA. It says, never mistake activity for achievement. So go out, be the inspiration. We are adjourned.